Here are three reasons why I'm still buying Moonbeam's utility token called Glimmer. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, reason number one is because I like its room for growth. If let's say Glimmer were to go to the price of $10 during this bull run, that right there would be around a 154x from here. Now, keep in mind, I get it, this is a little bit crazy, it may seem like, because it is over 100x from here, but if you take a look at the market cap it would have at that point, it wouldn't really be that crazy, at least in my opinion, because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $10 billion, which I don't think is too bad. We've seen Dogecoin reach over $80 billion market cap. We've seen Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion, and this was back in 2021, so years ago. I don't think this is too much to ask for. Keep in mind as well, during the peak of the 2021 bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. However, we fast forward to today, there's over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research, which allegedly is more than ever before in history. I just feel like this is kind of peanuts in the grand scheme of things, and I don't think it's too much to ask for. Now, some people may be thinking that, okay, again, this is kind of bad and all this, but I'm just going to put some perspective into this. Let's say I were to hypothetically put $1,000 into Glimmer, and let's say again it were to go to the price of $10. At that point, that $1,000 would be around 154 grand. Even if let's say Glimmer were to quote unquote only go to the price of $5, that's still over 70x from here. And now I get it, Glimmer isn't some sort of micro cap, so it can't hypothetically do like a 1000x from here or something like that. But I don't mind because when I take a look at Moonbeam, it's a very well-established project, good community, Glimmer has good exchange listings, and when I take a look at stuff like this, it really is a no-brainer for me because, again, it's not too low to the point where it's a microcap where I feel a little bit, hesitant to believe in something like that. But then at the same time, it's not like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum where it can't do, let's say, like over 50x from here during this bull run. So again, this is kind of like a good medium in between, at least for me. Glimmer isn't, that big of a project as of right now, but still, I think it's big enough to the point that I'm willing to take a chance on this, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. That's the way I view it. Now, people may be wondering, though, sometimes, okay, what is Moonbeam even all about? Let me explain, because I think this could be a major contributing factor as to what could very well allow Glimmer to reach great heights during this bull run. Now, if we take a look at Moonbeam, quite simply put, what it does is that it offers the power of Polkadot while at the same time maintaining the ease of use of Ethereum. Now, why is this amazing? It's because, first of all, Ethereum, we all know that it's a very large ecosystem. Many people believe in it, good community, the quality of projects is really fantastic. But then if you take a look at Polkadot, again, the power of it is something that is very special in my opinion, because if we take a look at Polkadot at its core, what makes it so amazing? It's because Polkadot is aiming to connect blockchains together. It's focused on something called interoperability. Now, why is this crucial? It's because many projects out there, let's say many networks, many blockchains, a lot of them, because by nature, they are independent of one another. Again, many of them, I can't say every single one, right? But many of them, due to that, they can't freely send data and value to each other, meaning that, again, they do lack something called interoperability in that case. Now, we have to take a look at a very famous example of two projects that kind of lack interoperability with one another. And let me explain. We take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're very massive, but because they're independent of one another, they can't freely send data and value to each other. However, again, what comes in and saves the day, that's something like Polkadot. So again, as I begin to say all of this, I think it's beginning to become kind of evident as to why having the ease of use of Ethereum, while at the same time having the power of Polkadot, I think it's beginning to become kind of evident again as to why that's very special. However, when it comes to Polkadot, it doesn't even end there, because Polkadot, quote unquote, has somewhat of a support system, which is something called Kusama. Now, why do I call this a support system? It's because it's basically the canary network to Polkadot. To put this as simply as possible, what this means is that projects that usually want to launch on Polkadot, they're going to usually launch on Kusama first as a way to test out the project. The reason why they do this in most cases is because it's a lot cheaper to rent building space on Kusama, not to mention it's easier to make changes on. So again, naturally, many people do start off there, and then eventually they do move on to Polkadot later on. Now, granted, a project doesn't have to move on to Polkadot, because when we take a look at something called Moonriver, which is the canary network basically to Moonbeam, that's again, on Kusama. So again, I think you kind of get the relation here, right? Kusama, it's a canary network to Polkadot, very similar in nature to Moon River, which is on Kusama, and then it's the canary network to Moonbeam, which is on Polkadot. So again, this is why I do really love Moonbeam. It's very amazing, fundamentally speaking. It's not that difficult to understand, in my opinion. And not to mention, it's a very, again, simple and easy to understand project. It's not overly complicated, and I do like that. Now, let's not forget, right? When it comes to Moonbeam, people like to say, oh, it's bad and all this. However, not too long ago, it was even stated that, again, Moonbeam and its companion network, Moonriver, which I just mentioned before, there's already over 100 projects, integrations, and collaborations, which I think is very impressive. Over 100. Again, it's a very big achievement. So when it comes to Moonbeam, its fundamentals are A+, and I think naturally as something like Polkadot and Ethereum does grow, especially during a fully fledged bull run, I think it's only fair to assume that something like Moonbeam does go along with the ride. Now, some people may be wondering how soon. Now, usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. Now, this is not a guaranteed date because each cycle is going to be different. But I'm going to pay attention to it nonetheless. And now a lot of people like to say that, hey, a high tide raises all ships. And I do agree with that in this case because there's currently, again, over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research, just like I mentioned earlier in the video. Now, why could this be a very special figure? Because I think when you have that many crypto owners, I think naturally the bull run could be very fantastic. It's just we're having a big pullback as of right now, but it doesn't mean that things go down forever. However, on the flip side, things don't always go up forever either. So there's, of course, going to be the end to the bull run, but I don't think we've seen that hypothetically just yet. Even Charles Hoskinson, who not only is the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano, based on a video that he's part of back in November of last year, in 2024, he did say that 1 to 2 years from then, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. So at least based off of that statement, I think Charles Hoskinson could very well see that, hey, this bull run could be far from over, at least theoretically. Now, Charles, again, the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano, when he says something like that, I'm going to pay attention. Doesn't mean he's going to be 100% correct, but I'm going to pay attention nonetheless. I'm paying more so attention to near the end of this year. However, only time will tell. And again, Glimmer at the price of $10 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I believe that through the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, again, as the bullish sentiment does rise during a fully fledged bull run, I really do believe that something like Glimmer could really go along with the ride. However, again, only time will tell, and $10 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.